Week 3 of the 2022 NFL season, the battle between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, it wasn't a football game. It was two pieces of meat on a butcher block getting sliced and diced. I've seen a lot of games in my 43 years, played in some crazy games. This one's right at the top. Injuries coming in for both teams. Short week in adding that for the Bills. All the injuries during the game and the crazy heat. Guys dropping like flies. The first thing that has to be said is how much credit the Buffalo Bills players and the Miami Dolphins players, especially the Bills offense and the Dolphins defense, because it's on all field all day, should the amount of accolades they should get from anybody who loves the game of football, no matter how you feel about the outcome. This was an unbelievable display. To me, football is a kinesthetic artwork. These guys are artists. And to see the human condition oppressed the way it was, and as two groups battling it out have to survive and thrive through it, and then create this piece of artwork for us to enjoy, the amount of credit they deserve, it's really hard to calculate. So these bodies on both sides are feeling like garbage, and they're going to hurt for a long time. So I want to say thank you to both teams. I want to say, Bills fans, I know you're not happy, but there was a lot of courage from this team, and it's a great team. One game doesn't determine a season. Dolphins fans, you got a good head coach, and you got guys that are really scrapping it out and fighting. Not a perfect day, but it feels good to be 3-0, 2 wins in the division, and owning the AFC East. I don't know how long it will last, but this feels great. Not everything that is displayed by the outcome and the scorecard and all this other stuff is exactly how it appears, but this is a good moment for us. Bills fans, you got a long way to go. We got a long way to go. Let's see how it plays out. Long way from here to there. So everybody, all fan bases and all football viewers who watch this game should just really take a moment and say, this is what football's about, and we're very grateful to have seen it. Now, I'm not going to go on too long. Tide's been a long week. And funny as it is, Curtis decided to go total fan today. Total fan. So I didn't want to sit in my climate-controlled office because the kids get cramped up and I can't pace. I like to pace when I watch a game when I'm really into it. It's been a long time since I've paced. So I put the computer and a screen on a kitchen table. It's a big room, so you can't really AC it up unless you want to, mortgage your kids and take a second loan out to pay for it. So I was like, it's not going to be too bad. It's whatever. So I'm pacing back and forth, and like early part of the third quarter, I'm like, I'm out. I got to sit down. I've been watching football and pacing. And I'm like, what are these human beings going through? It really started putting context. And I don't know, and this is not like a bit or anything like that. I don't know, it's like so weird how art imitated life, or life imitated art, or however you want to. I'm sitting there sweating going, I'm so tired. And then my puppy, my 3.5, 4-month-old puppy comes limping in with a bad leg. He must have sprained his ankle or something. I'm like, this is crazy. This was a wild day. I mean, any kind of play you could figure happened. It was all over. Nobody, you always get, it's so funny. You always get the guys, I'm not saying anybody in particular, but you see, I've got 5 fantasy football teams and I've got the gold subscription to PFF. So when I tell you this is the way the game's going to go and you don't agree with me, you're an idiot. Nobody knows everything. This game made a lot of people look like they don't know it. Nobody expected this. This was Football the beauty of football has a way of making you, when you think you got all the answers, to realize you don't. Now, I think a lot of us, through the comments, we all saw different things, and a lot of it came out, but ultimately, it's not always going to go the way it's expected. So this was a wild ride. It's going to be a fun diagnosis. Bills, you have a long way to go, and we've got our moment. But in that framework of the game, this is a wild ride, and I can't wait to go through the tape. So I'm going to have chapters. I'm going to have going over the game, Bills, Phins, and the future of both. And you'll be able to skip and add and go wherever you want, So before I do that, though, I want to say thank you for everyone stopping by. all the likes, the subscribes, the comments. I love the comments. Thank you so much. You allowed me to spend my time, get a little scratch to do this thing that I love, going over football tape and talking about it. So I'm so grateful. I want to say thank you. And I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Ace Per Head. Without you guys, without them, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. Allen had his day. 42 with 63, 2 TDs, 400 yards, 9 for 46 on the ground with 51. Now, there was 3 fumbles and the 1 loss, but that's one epic day. It's a huge day. I mean, there was things in there that, he could have done better. But this guy carried the team. He was the team practically. 450 yards on a day. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I didn't like the Sandlot feel. I'll get into that in a little bit. Tua, 13-18, 186 for 1 TD. Only 225 for the entire offense. And those might seem pedestrian, but clearly you saw when Teddy came in, they attacked Teddy much different than Tua. And you could see some of those plays that Tua made. They showed this guy can play. He could play. He's the number 1 quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. And so Allen, he's unbelievable. I think if he gets better support from his offensive coordinator, he could have won this game, and he's going to just keep being awesome. And Tua, I thought he got really good support by his offensive coordinator, but Allen keeping the ball all day, and then some things with inside the Miami Dolphins offense limited it. But to me, both these guys played amazing. Allen, obviously, unreal. But Tua showed some real stuff, guys, and he keeps going. Now, the pundits might not say that he had a good day, but we'll go over the tape and show you that they're wrong. Anyway, so Rousseau, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Ingram, what a signing. 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. Big plays, both these guys. This was just, Rousseau, we knew. Ingram really is stepping up. I mean, he's playing out of his mind. He really is. I don't know how long it's going to last, but that is one heck of a cheap signing. Now, game opened up with Howard getting that stupid penalty, gets Allen helps get Allen a touchdown, and they kind of move right down the field, and it's like, oh, I don't really like that, And then Allen gets sacked, the strip sack, which I really didn't like the play calls that led up to that. And then, Dolphins get it in, and it goes back and forth. Kumro gets injured, which I thought affected things. And then it was 14-14, goal to go. And that Davis pass should have been challenged. I don't know. What a play by Crossan to knock it out. It was touching. I don't know if he would have got that call, but, man, that's the way the game was. Unbelievable throw, unbelievable catch, an unbelievable poke it out. It was just a wild, wild ride. And then, Milano misses that pick that could have been taken, that could have changed things. That was a big turn. But I still felt Bills were going to win because they just were able. I figured the Dolphins defense would crumble, but I don't think Dorsey really drove the nail home to shut the Dolphins defense down. He had them on edge, but it's just some things I really didn't like. But I still felt like through the game I was like, I really don't like this game plan too much. But they were having success, and I figured it would eventually something would happen. Then you get that big drive down the field. You get the Allen penalty somewhere in there, and then you're ready to go, and then it was like a draw play and pass, and then field goal and a miss. By the time I got so tired in the third quarter, I stopped being a Dolphins fan. I started watching as an evaluator. And I started Dorsey's really screwing up. I don't like this game plan. I'm happy for my Dolphins, but I didn't like this game plan. So it's 17-14, and I'm like, I think the Dolphins might go down and get a touchdown here. But it didn't happen. There was penalties, and it was sacks, and it was 3rd and 22. And I'm like, Now I'm feeling bad for my Dolphins because, I'm the evaluator, but it's like, it's my team. So I get back and I'm like, this sucks. This is really stupid how he got into the situation. 3rd and 22. We're never going to get out of this. And then Leslie Frazier, I think he's a great defensive coordinator. But how do you call cover 2 in that situation with only 3 guys rushing? And it was like shades of last year with the 13 seconds to KC. It was look at this. This was the worst call I could imagine. You finally got these guys in this situation, and you're going to send 3 guys, put 2 guys over the top, and cover like the short middle or something. It was such a terrible call, play design. I don't know what's going on in the background, but I would be very, very frustrated if I was a Bills fan. I thought it was just very disappointing for Frazier. So then the Dolphins go down. They score. They get to run. They get some nice runs inside, this is what I was talking about with the Titans attacking the inside. Bills were missing some players inside. Phillips, Giant Phillips, and even Oliver a little bit. Missing those guys, and Settle was kind of injured, and it's a hot day. It was a great call. And then, so you're down 21-17, and then the Bills you figure they're going to drive down the field and get the touchdown. They get goal to go. And then in inches, they decide to call a draw play or RPO. And that was like mind-boggling. Why didn't he just get on the center and you just quarterback sneak it 2 or 3 times? At least on the first one. This was the terrible, terrible call. And then Allen missed that easy pass. They were checking his hand to see if he was injured. And it was just then going to be our day. Then you got the crazy. Then it's over. Then you get the safety. And I really didn't like. We don't have the horses to really run the goal line situation like that. And I guess they did pretty good, but it was a good stand by the Bills. And then they get the ball back, and you figure, okay, all I need is the field goal, and then time runs out. What a game. What a game. What a crazy, crazy game. Is it indicative of both teams? The season? I don't know. We'll see. Dolphins are 3-0. Bills are 2-1. Really can't. I don't think you could put too much foot in the ground on this game because this, you would play this game 50 times on different fields and different circumstances, and it would never end up this way again. But you got to give the Dolphins credit, Bills fans. They hung in there and took advantage of mistakes. And I think that Bills just really were sloppy and some too many penalties. I had mentioned that with the defense, a little too many penalties and just throwing the football a little too much. And Dolphins really started getting pressure because Dorsey knows. We know what Dorsey's going to do. It's so obvious. It started becoming Dable-esque. I liked what he did week 1. I liked what he did week 2. Offensive line had struggles throughout the day. I think this stuff can get fixed, but I believe I really expected a little bit different offense. You got Saffold in there, Quisenberry, and you're just passing. And I think it's diminishing returns. This is what happened with Dable last year. I forgot what was it. He had only 13 runs by Moss and Singletary and 8 runs by Allen. And you're like, well, Singletary couldn't get the ball. There wasn't enough runs inside. It was almost always draws. He was in shotgun all day, and I understand. You had Van Rotten in, so you didn't have your center. And so maybe the snaps were a little bit difficult. But I think you had to try to do a little bit more of that stuff because the Dolphins' defense, they knew what was coming almost every time. You could see a lot of first down techniques were always penetration and not two gap. And I really didn't like Dorsey's game plan. I think he's got to get back to the drawing board, maybe some time off, a week off, getting some bodies healed. It's going to be a tough game going against the Ravens. Ravens, they're physical up front. Their secondary isn't so good, but this is going to be a hard week for you guys to bounce back from and but Dorsey just needed you had the ball for 39 minutes. How about some Gilliam fullback leads and being a little more patient with this thing? It wasn't a shootout. You got the ball plenty of times. I just think a little diversity, a little play action rollout, something to give this defense something, because after a while they knew exactly what was happening. So you could see Dorsey kind of melted down. You can see here he melted down at the end of the game. And I can understand why. But he's got to go home, take a long look in the mirror and do some adjustments. I think he will. But this was a very, very poor game plan. But good news is, you guys, we got to meet you in Buffalo. You're getting a lot of guys back. You played with your secondary gutted, your defensive tackles injured, your offensive line dropping, and you had like a whole right side. And so I understand that. I'm not saying the Dolphins are a better team or anything in this, because you got to play better teams. And even if you have all the health and you're not dialing in on your play calls and scheme and philosophy, it's going to come back to bite you, much like with Frazier last year in that last 13 seconds, the same thing with that 3rd and 22. Stuff tends to repeat, and even if it's different teams and different circumstances, you got to resolve some of the stuff. And Allen being shotgun all day, it looks great, but you can see that even a beat-up Dolphins defense that hasn't been playing great, if they know what you're doing, they can kind of limit it. Now, for my Dolphins, we won. There's no doubt about it. But clearly, you look on the tape, and we struggled. We put up 21 points, but one touchdown we had 10 yards to go. And why couldn't we do that against a gutted secondary? Because all that flashy movement stuff, every once in a while, the defense could catch it, and you get a big stop, and it throws the whole thing off. And teams know what you're going to kind of do, and you can't pass block well enough or run block well enough. Yeah, you got a couple of runs, but it wasn't consistently enough. And you can see the pressure was there. Bills had to play a different kind of pressure look because they had to protect their secondary. And so if they had a full complement, you would have seen a lot of different looks. But they couldn't show all their looks. But yet, we only put on 21 points. Great news is Tua is the guy for us. This is great news. Great news is Hill and Waddle are studs. McDaniel is an excellent coach so far. I'm not totally sold on Boyer being the guy, and I think we might be better suited going into a 4-3. I got to look into him more. I mean, there were some good moments and some I feel like he's still like copying Flores' notes, But McDaniel is the guy in charge. And the quarterback, even though NFL is looking into that concussion, I don't know how you flop around like that and stumble around like that and you don't got a concussion. Very curious, The only thing I think with Tua we have to worry about is his health. I don't know how he came back after that. We're going to see how that plays out. But for me now, it's only his health. This guy was severely limited for many, many reasons. And he had some great passes. You could see his mobility, how it changed things, how he forces defense to play him differently. Not like Allen or Lamar, but he's mobile enough to change the way a defense plays. And when Teddy came in, they just blew it all, the doors open. And that's really what the offensive line should have looked like. But because of the weak secondary and because of Tua's mobility, they had to play very passive. And we were able to pull out the win. And this shows good intestinal fortitude of the team and good leadership from the head coach. But this offensive line is still a problem. This defense, it played well, but that heat was a huge asset to them. But what courage. What courage from this defense. What big plays. Even Howard on a bad leg. A lot of good stuff to look over this team. I am very proud of this team, despite some warts that I see, because ultimately, if McDaniel can be the guy and Tua can be the guy and we can get some kind of success, there's a chance we can get an offensive line, because that's all this team really needs is an offensive line, and they're going to be very, very good. So this is great news for us. Still that concern, though, of the offensive line. And you can just say, well, we won. Okay, then we won. All right. We're going to get to see what it's like playing on a short week if they're getting beat up, because they play the Titans, short week. We get to go to Cincinnati. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully we win. If we don't, understandable. But if we can lose this week and go to the Jets and we're 4-1 after 5 weeks, unbelievable. See how the rest of the season plays out, though. See how everything plays out. But to me, McDaniel, I like him. We'll see if things don't go well, how does he respond? But I said from the very beginning, his style plays very good with when you're ahead, when you're winning. It's an accelerant. And his team is responding, and we get a little bit of here, a little bit there. You can call luck, you can call good circumstance, whatever. We're 3-0, first in the division. And these players got a lot of heart, and we've got to be very proud of them. Now, the division's got a long way to play out. Patriots played the Ravens really, really well, but they lost. So now it's looking like Miami's got full control of that second and good control of the first spot. If we continue to win, our destiny is ours. Let's see how it plays out. This is a very exciting year for us. Long way to go, as I always say, but this is one exciting season, Fin fans. Anyway, Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. Go Phins. See you soon. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.